Hello, today we are going to solve the problem of the day from LeetCode. In this problem, we receive a vector that is the scale of an even number of players, let's say, and each number in this vector represents the skill of an individual player. We are asked to check if we can divide the complete number of players into teams of 2 players in a way that all of the teams have the same skill, and the skill of a team is defined by the sum of the skills of its participants. And then first we need to check if we can do that, and then we need to return the sum of the chemistry of all teams, knowing that the chemistry of a team is the product of the skill of its players. Okay, this problem can be divided into problems. The first problem is knowing if we can split the players into the teams following the asked condition, and after that we know that, then we can calculate or solve the other problem, that is finding the total chemistry that will be the sum of the chemistry of all of the teams. I think that to understand this problem will be more clear if I start with the implementation, because the idea is not so complicated. First we need to check if we can build these teams, and then like I mentioned, we need to calculate the total chemistry. Okay, to know if we can build the teams, first we need to have the total, let's say, skill of all of the players, and let's calculate it using accumulate. After we have the total skill, we need also to know the number of players, or let's put it as total players, and this will be the length of the vector. After this, we need to check how many teams we need to build. Total teams, the number of teams will be the number of players between divided by 2, because we already know that the number of players is even. In that way we don't need to worry about that condition. But after we know the number of teams, first we need to be sure that the total skill is divisible by the number of teams that we want to build. Otherwise the skill of each team will be let's say a decimal number, and we cannot do that because we receive that each skill is an integer. For that reason, this is the first condition, and if the total skill is not divisible by the number of teams, then we can already return -1. That is the value that we should return if there is no possibility to build the teams. And after that we have checked with this condition, then we need to know what will be the skill per team, and we can calculate that dividing the total skill between the total teams. After that we have this, we will need to track each of the values of a skill that we have for all of our players, because now we need to check if we can find these pairs that will follow the condition that the sum of its skills is the skill per team. For that reason, we can, let's say, we can have the skill per team is 10, and if we have that one group of players have a skill of 4, and let's say that there are like 3 players with a skill of 4, then we will need like 3 players also with the skill 10, that is the skill per team minus 4. For that reason, it's useful to track the amount of players that have a particular skill. Okay, after that, we know the main idea behind storing the skill per teams. We can like create an unordered map. Let's call it frec, for that means frequency, and then we can start to iterate our skill vector. Okay, after that we know like the frequency per each skill. We can initialize some variables that will be useful, like the first one is half skill per team, and we will know later why we are doing this. And also we need to use a boolean flag to know if if it is possible to do this splitting in teams. Let's call it is possible. And if after we iterate over our frequency unordered map, if we find that it's not possible, then the answer needs to be -1, and also we need to initialize the answer with 0. Okay, then we can start iterating over our frequency unordered map. First, for this case, for instance, we only need to check the condition, or like doing the calculation to calculate the total chemistry only with the group with less skill than the half of the required skill per team. For instance, in this case, the skill per team is 10. Then we are only doing the calculation of the chemistry for the group of players with a skill less than the half, let's say less than 5. Because otherwise, if we don't check that, we are doing the calculation like for the same calculation twice, because we are going to increase our answer for this group, but then for this other group the same condition is valid, and we are also adding the same, and that doesn't make any sense. For that reason, we are going to check only when the value is less than the half, less or equal than the half. That means that we can continue if that is not the case. Then if the skill per team is an even number, and we find that the current element of our frequency map is equal to the half skill per team. Now the validation is a bit different, because for instance in our first example that we assume that the skill per team is 10, then if we have players with a skill of 5, they only need to form the groups between them, because one player with 5 will need another player with 5 to build a team. Okay, and for this we will need like the repetitions of this value needs to be even, because if that's not the case, then we cannot build the teams. For that reason, if the number of repetitions in this case is odd, then it's not valid. To build the teams. But if that's not the case, then we can start to increase our answer. That will be like in this case, the repetitions divided by 2 by the value of value multiplied by value, because this is let's say the chemistry, and this is the number of teams with that chemistry. Then the other case is that we have like this initial case that we see here, that basically one group of players will have a skill less or equal than the half. And for that, first we need to find like what is the remaining value, let's say, or value of the other group, and that will be like the skill per team less the value of the current group. And then we need to validate if the number of elements that have the value of the other group is different from the number of elements of this group, then it's not valid to build the teams, because we see that we need like the same amount of players for each group, and that basically follows this condition that the sum of its skills is the required skill per team. Okay, then if this is not the case, we can increment the answer, and this will be like in this case we don't need to split the repetitions divided by 2, because the number of elements of each of the groups will be like the number of groups in total for this particular case. And then if it's not valid, then we can like stop the iteration, because then it doesn't make any sense to continue finding the answer, because we cannot build the teams in the given conditions. Okay, then let's test if this works. Okay, we have an error here. We at the end we didn't use it valid, we used is possible. Is possible. Okay, I had an error here. Okay, we have the answer is 22, 12, and -1. Okay, this looks correct. Let's submit this. Okay, let's submit it. Okay, I hope that the explanation of the exercise was good. If you have any question, just let me know. Thanks.